Okay.
Good afternoon. I am Rebecca Sander and serve as chair of the practice committee of the Kansas. I ask the members of the practice committee to respond to a roll call to show their presence at this open meeting being held remotely by Zoom and YouTube. Melissa Oropeza.
Present.
Laurie Owen.
Present.
Kirsten Korn. Sharon Morris.
Present.
Zuya Holloman. She's absent with prior notice. Amy Wren.
Present.
Tawny Sandifer.
Present.
I also ask the following board staff members to signify their attendance. Linda Davies, practice specialist.
Present.
Victoria Bond, administrative specialist.
Present.
Public comment allows individuals to address the practice committee about their concerns, but the Kansas Open Meetings Act, which is known as COMA, does not require the committee to provide public comment or answer questions from individuals. Public comment will not be taken today because there is a possibility that the connection for this remote meeting may be lost over time, and the time for the meeting may not allow everyone who is present to comment. Additionally, we will not know what comments an individual may make, and we would want to provide notice to the public of our intent to discuss a particular matter so that the public may listen and observe our discussion. Because we are conducting this public meeting remotely by Zoom and YouTube, I state for the record the following information. On March the 14th, 2022, the board sent notice of the meeting for the practice committee to all individuals who have requested notice of the committee's meetings. Additionally, the notice and agenda were posted on the board's website, ksbn.kansas.gov. You may obtain a copy of the notice and agenda at the website or by sending an email to Kara Moreland at ks.gov with the subject line request for the agenda, and the board staff will send it to you. The notice contains the internet links to access the meeting by Zoom and YouTube. The notice also contains the Zoom telephone number to attend this meeting by telephone call. Each of these electronic mediums allow the public to attend this meeting free of charge. The notice also advises individuals to contact the board's office at 785-296-2967 if they experience any technical issues during the meeting. The only mediums for interactive communication offered for this meeting are the connections by Zoom and YouTube as previously stated. Each member of the committee, board staff, or presenter shall state the person's name and title each time the person speaks or votes, as the case may be. Each participant to this meeting shall ensure microphones, phones, or other electronic devices are on mute when the participant is not speaking. Each motion will be clearly stated before the committee votes, and the chair will announce the result of the final vote. A statement or motion will clearly identify and authorize by delegation each member of the committee or staff who will be permitted to sign any document on behalf of the committee. The meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be posted on the board's website. The committee has the following items listed on its agenda: call to order, review of on-site packet, additions or revisions to agenda, announcements, approval of minutes for the meeting held in December 2021, unfinished business, new business, agenda for committee meeting March 2022, adjournment. If the committee elects to exercise an option to go into executive session, the committee will follow this process. First, the committee must be in open session before going into an executive session. Then a motion will be made and seconded. Pursuant to KSA 75-4319B, the motion must contain the statement and justification for closure, the subject to be discussed, and the time and place that the open meeting will resume. If a motion for executive session passes, the public will be excluded from this portion of the meeting, as the executive session will be conducted by electronic means that will not be made available to the public. The committee members will return to the open meeting after the executive session. The open meeting will resume when the committee members return to Zoom and YouTube meeting after the executive session. The complete motion for an executive session will be recorded in the minutes. The meeting is now called to order, and the committee will now consider the next item on its agenda. A review of on-site packet. Do we have anything in there today?
Madam Chair, this is Linda Davies, practice specialist. There is no on-site packet.
Okay. Are there any additions or revisions to the agenda today? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Announcements. Are there any announcements today? Okay, nobody has any announcements. Okay. Next, we'll move on to approval of minutes of December 14th, 2021. Has everybody had time to look through those and see if there's any additions or corrections that need to be made? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes, Victoria?
Yes. Is there a committee member who would like to make the following motion? I move to approve the minutes from the December 14th, 2021 Practice Committee meeting as written.
I'll make that motion. This is Sharon Morris.
Thank you,
Second.
Sharon.
Second, this is Melissa Orpeza.
Thank you, Melissa. It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, motion is carried. So we'll move on to unfinished business. The first item is the 5-year legislative review. It's KAR 60-3-102. And there's a copy of all these in your packet. And the first one, this is about the duplicate license. And it talks about paper licenses. And Carol, can you refresh my memory? Did we have a discussion already before about, since we no longer use paper licenses and it's all electronic, what we do with this old statute or regulation?
Yeah, Madam Chair, this is Carol Moreland, Executive Administrator. Yeah, we don't do duplicate anymore. They can go print their own from our website. So it would be my suggestion probably that you all think about whether you want this one revoked, because we don't do it anymore.
Okay. I was wondering what the word is called when we want to remove it. So the word is revoke. That's the language we use. Okay, thank you, Carol. Is there any discussion? It kind of sounds like that's what we need to do since we no longer issue paper licenses. Okay, Victoria, do you have a motion already made for that one using the word where we wish to revoke it?
Yeah, this is what I have.
Okay,
There a committee member who would like to make the following motion? I move to revoke KAR 60-3-102.
I move.
who was that again?
This is Tawny.
Oh, Tanya, okay. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Melissa Orpeza.
Thank you, Melissa. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion is carried. So now we move on to the RN-LPN scope of practice, a comparison chart, a draft copy of the comparison chart. And that again is in your packet on page 6.
Madam Chair and members of the Practice Committee, in your packet is a rough draft, very rough draft of a chart to provide comparison between the RN and LPN duties. Previously, you viewed the North Carolina Board of Nursing's chart, and we decided to possibly create something for the Kansas Board of Nursing. To note a difference between boards of nursing, some states have authority to draft position statements, and Kansas is not one of those that has that type of authority. So the Board of Nursing's comparison chart from North Carolina had those, and so they have a little bit more detail in them. And so it made it a little bit difficult to go forward here. And that's why I said it's a very rough draft. But the thought is to maybe provide a link to statutes in the Nurse Practice Act and regulations to coincide with duties as they are defined in the Nurse Practice Act. I'm in process of still looking through the Nurse Practice Act to see, because our Nurse Practice Act is, as you know, written broadly, which is good and bad, but I don't see that we're going to be able to definitely link certain things to each area. So it might be like an overview type thing. I can continue to research that. If this is something that you still want to go forward with, I did pull the standards of practice and standards of professional performance from the American Nurses Association as another reference. The information that though I had is from the 3rd edition, and there is a 4th edition that's out there now. So I can get that and compare to make sure that there's no updates, or whatever updates are there, maybe add those to this. Not sure where the committee wants to go further with this type of a chart. It's something that I think is going to be, it's going to be a little bit more time consuming than I thought in putting it together for Kansas, but it's something I'm willing to do if the committee still wants to proceed with this.
Well, I think there's kind of a need, isn't there, for some type of something on our website where a lot of people can go on their own instead of calling us with volumes of phone calls with questions that perhaps maybe the answer's already out there. If they could refer to this chart to see if that would help them, get the answer instead of calling in on everything. Maybe.
We do.
I would
This
be
is-
interested in
Yeah.
proceeding, practicing in an area that doesn't necessarily always understand the medical side when you're dealing with educators and school administrators, and that knowing the difference between an RN and an LPN, and especially as dollars become tight and perhaps there's, a misunderstanding of what an LPN can do in the school. And I know that some over COVID time have gotten into a situation where they've hired an LPN for the entire district, and there is no, and then found suddenly that luckily the LPN herself realized that she was working beyond the scope of her practice when she was creating care plans and doing all of, that was the expectation of the role of a school nurse, is to create all the planning in that. And so they managed to find a supervising RN that would function in that role. But I think having those specifications, that role spelled out somewhat, maybe in not fine detail that really limits and ties people up in knots, but some idea of what the difference between an RN and an LPN's practice scope would be useful.
That's very good feedback, Sharon. Thank you for bringing that up. Do you think that this would be helpful? Have you had time to look at this just to kind of see if school administrators or whoever you're referring to, would this help them? A tool like this of some sort?
I have scanned it. I think it would be useful, and also as people contemplate what level of practice do they need for the particular role they're trying to fill?
Yeah.
Can that person by their licensure fulfill that role? Having some idea about that, and I'd be willing to help with that, Linda, if you could use a hand. So
I think it's a great start point, Linda. You did a nice job, and I bet it took a lot of time to blend together, to mesh together using the different resources that you looked at. It looks nice, actually. I know we can't answer detailed questions. The Nurse Practice Act doesn't even do that. But I think it kind of looks to me like as an overview guide, and that's refreshing to hear that it might help the school nursing scenarios when they have an LPN, kind of utilizing LPNs, like you said, because of finances and resources and whatever.
And even availability. Frankly, West, some portions of Kansas, they don't have an abundance of RNs.
Yeah.
But just knowing what the limitation of an LPN is in her role is good.
This is Linda Davies again, practice specialist, just as an example. For like standard 5 implementation, it talks about delegation and supervision of the RN or LPN role. And the statute that I found that kind of ties with that is 65-1165. And it's the supervision of delegated nursing procedures. So I think, linking that to that area would then allow for the nurse who's looking for an understanding to then go to that statute and research it more. Kind of just like, I guess, an overview of kind of how to find what you need to find in the Nurse Practice Act, so to speak. So maybe it is something that they could use. It's up to you.
Linda, where would this be placed upon approval? If we get that far, where was your visions of where it would be placed under KSBN site?
On the
Just-
website, there is a resource tab.
Okay.
We created like a school nurse section in there so that the things that are relevant for school nursing, school nurses could go there. Now, like you said, this has to get approval from
Right.
everyone, not just the committee, but the board, legal, everybody, so
Right.
this is not something that we would create overnight. It's got to have some thought and consideration put into it, and also then to maintain it. That's something else that we would have to make sure that we put on our agenda to review whatever we have on the website or in anywhere in a newsletter, to make sure we put something that's relevant and up to date. So
You may have done this already, talked about it, refresh my memory. Do you kind of have a kind of a little sheet of the themes for the most common questions that you get? And would that be covered in something like this? I mean, not in detail, I understand. But do you have the common themes again of the most frequently called in questions about scope?
we have a running list of the frequently asked questions and the responses that have been given in the past. What I've tried to do is tell staff that we have to reference back to the Nurse Practice Act in any type of response. We cannot, in my opinion, bind the board to something that is, in my opinion, it has to be from the Nurse Practice Act. So, and then also the caveat too is that we are not licensed attorneys. We do not give legal advice. We recommend that if they do have a question about a situation, a scenario, that they seek out their own legal counsel. There has been a lot of pushback, I'll say, in that, because I'm not quite sure what happened in the past, but we're trying to hold firm to citing the Nurse Practice Act in our responses, and then also mentioning that, we're not legal. We don't have a legal authority to answer and to provide interpretation of law. So it's been a very trying period, especially through the COVID, with everybody relaxing requirements. So it's been a challenge. That's why I bring it to your attention. Help is greatly appreciated. So.
Okay. Are there any other thoughts or comments from the committee? Would anybody else be willing to work a little further with Linda? And of course, now Sharon has volunteered. Anybody else have any time to volunteer? Want to help? Linda, what do you feel is your next step, so to speak, in some kind of a time frame for this? Did you think that far ahead? I know this took plenty of time just to put it together for today.
Madam Chair, this is Linda Davies, again, practice specialist. I think maybe going forward next would be just to review the Nurse Practice Act for areas that may pertain to certain, and there may be more, I don't know, I mean, of areas and stuff, but, I'd welcome, visiting with Sharon Morris or drafting something and sending it to her and, getting feedback so that we can represent back at committee. That's fine. It's very time consuming. So I know Sharon's busy with school and so I don't want to take up too much time on this, but I think it's something that we could potentially have. But like I said, there's a lot of pieces that have to be approved first.
Yeah, that sure makes sense. It gets pretty fuzzy, I bet sometimes, some days. There is no black and white in that Nurse Practice Act. It spells out exactly what they can do and not do. Well, I might be able, I'm kind of thinking too, that I might be able to help a little bit or participate just from the investigative committee's side as we get cases where there was, maybe a question about exceeding a scope of practice, and kind of think back to see what exactly was it that was questioned. And if it's something we can maybe cover in here, I mean, this is a good start if people can get their answers here first before they call, because you're saying that you really don't have a black and white answer anyway. And we don't give legal advice, and we refer them to the Nurse Practice Act anyway. I know policy and procedures of the facilities does play a role in some of this. The education of the LPN or RN, plays a role in what exactly they can do or not do. So I know there's other pieces. So asking you to give an answer over the phone, it just doesn't work. There's a whole bunch of processes involved to determine the scope of practice and whether it was breached. Okay, well, we'll continue to work on, and maybe Sharon and I can help you out a little bit if we can. But I do appreciate this hard work. This is nice. It's a good start. It's a very good start. Okay, next on the agenda is executive session. And is Charles available right now?
I am.
Oh, great. Very good. Thank you. I'm not sure if I heard your name as with us. Okay, very good. Well, we do need to have Victoria is going to read a motion, and then we're going to dismiss from this meeting and go into executive session. And I think, Victoria, we were thinking 20 minutes. Is that what everybody, Carol or Linda, is that what you're kind of thinking? Or 30 minutes?
I'm not sure how long it will take, so it's up to the committee, really.
Shoot for 20, I guess, and if we have to extend it, we can extend it, right? Okay, Victoria, will you go ahead and read the motion, please?
Is there a committee member who would like to make the following motion pursuant to ASA 7(e)(2)? I move that the practice committee recess into executive session for 20 minutes and reconvene at 3:45. The remote meeting will be reconvened by Zoom as stated in the agenda that was attached to the notice of the meeting that was sent to individuals who requested the notice and is published on the board's website at www.asdn.kansas.gov. The justification is consultation with the board's legal counsel, Assistant Attorney General Charles Macheers, that would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. The subject matter to be discussed in the executive session concerns legal issues related to internal procedures and statutory compliance. The board's executive administrator, Carol Moreland, and Linda Davies, practice specialist, are included as the client.
I would make that motion. This is Sharon Morris.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Melissa Orpeza.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. One motion is passed. We will resume at 3:45. And everybody be sure to mute and turn off your your mic and turn off your screen. Is that what we need to do, Carol, right? And then dial in the numbers you were given. Okay. Colton, we're slowly all coming back on. Are we ready to resume here as soon as everybody's back?
You're good to go.
So we are good to go? Okay, thank you. Okay, we will continue with the rest of the agenda. And next, we have new business. And that's the 5-year legislative review. And the first one on the list is KSA 74-1106. And that's general, talking about appointment and terms and vacancies and qualifications and duties and powers and whatever, compensation and expenses.
Madam Chair, this is Linda Davies. Can I just give a brief overview of why and where these come from?
Sure.
For the practice committee, some of you are new. KSBN, the Board of Nursing, has a schedule to review Nurse Practice Act every 5 years. So statutes and regulations are divided between committees for which they relate. Therefore, every March, all statute regulations that are due for review will be listed on the practice committee's agenda. The practice committee is to review and make revisions as necessary, and all are to be completed by December meeting. So if you don't get through all of them today, that's fine. We'll just table them and move them to June's meeting. So just FYI.
Okay, thanks, Linda. And I'm hoping everybody had time to look through them. The KSAs are statutes and the KARs are regulations. So the statutes require a legislative process and the statutes are just internal, right? An internal change that doesn't have to go through the legislature, Linda? Is that right?
The regulations, they still have a process that they have to follow, but
Okay.
they're a little bit easier to get through. Little.
Okay. So I looked through, the first one, 74-1106, and I really don't see any changes that are absolutely needed. It pretty much follows what's still going on today as we speak. I didn't see anything that really stuck out that needed to be changed or addressed. Did anybody else have any comments, or do you want to wait until you have time to read these? What's the committee's preference? Is everybody back on, Colton? Can you tell?
Sorry, still getting used to the mute thing. I think everybody's still on here.
Okay, I just want to make sure that they got on okay, that, that's fun to go back and forth to executive session and back open meeting, so. Well, hearing no comments or feedbacks or concerns, Victoria, are you reading these motions today some more?
Yeah.
Okay,
Is there a committee member who would like to make the following motion? I move to approve KSA 74-1106 as written.
This is Lori Owen, board member. I'll make that motion.
thank you. Is there a second?
Second, this is Melissa Warpeza.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The next one is KSA 651122. And it's a shorter one about misdemeanors and penalties. And I really didn't see anything in there that has been changed either or needs to be addressed or corrected. As I went through there, does anybody else have any thoughts about additions or corrections on this statute? Okay, hearing none. Victoria, would you read a motion, please, to approve?
Is there a committee member who would like to make the following motion? I move to approve KSA 65-1122 as written.
This is Lori Owen, board member. I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
This is Amy Moon. I will second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried. The next one is KSA 651124. Acts which are not prohibited. And again, I saw no issues or concerns, changes needed on this one either. Anybody else have any comments or concerns? Okay, Victoria, you want to read a motion to approve, please?
Is there a committee member who would like to make the following motion? I move to approve KSA 65-1124 as written.
Melissa Orpeza, board member, and motion to approve.
Is there a second?
This is Lori Owen, board member. I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, comments, concerns? Okay, Victoria, would you please read a motion to approve?
And is this for the 60-3-106?
No, 1124.
We just did that.
We did?
I think you need to take a vote.
Yeah, we're ready to vote.
Sorry.
You're moving quickly.
It's late in the afternoon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried. My brain is just 5 minutes ahead of everybody else. Oh my gosh. Okay, now the next one is KAR 60-3-106. And this was the requirements, licensure qualifications for those who have graduated from a foreign school of nursing. And I did read through those, and they pretty much reflect and match, all the other verbiage and other statutes, and even the plan if it's been 24 months from graduation. So I went through that, and I don't think I've seen anything that needs to be revised or adjusted. Does anybody else have any comments? Okay, Victoria, would you read a motion to approve, please?
Is there a committee member who would like to make the following motion? I move to approve KAR 60-3-106 as written.
Motion to approve, Melissa Orpeza, board member.
Is there a second?
Second, Sharon Morris.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Then we have the 60-3-106A, the temporary permit. And reading through that, I didn't see any issues with this one either. Does anybody else have any comments or concerns about this? Any changes need to be made? Okay. Victoria, you want to hear, would you read a motion to approve, please?
Is there a committee member who would like to make the following motion? I move to approve KAR 60-3-106A as written.
This is Lori Owen, board member. I'll motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Melissa Orpeza.
Any comments or concerns? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
nay. Motion is carried. Then we move on to the KAR 60-3-112. That is the exempt license. And again, that looks pretty good and pretty current. I didn't have any changes. I don't think there. Did anybody read those and have any thoughts or concerns there? Luckily, it's a short one. Okay, Victoria, you ready to read the motion for approval, please?
Is there a committee member who would like to make the following motion? I move to approve KAR 60-3-112 as written.
Is there a second?
This is Sharon Morris. I'll make that motion.
To second? Oh, did I not do the original motion?
I just moved it.
Okay. We're almost through. This is a long list. Ugh.
Melissa Orpeza, I'll second.
You'll second. Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. The next one is the KSA 654202, and that is definitions of mental health technology. It looked like licensed mental health tech. And again, I read through that, and I do believe that I didn't see any corrections that needed to be made through that. Did anybody else have any corrections or additions or comments on definitions? Okay, Victoria, would you read a motion to approve, please?
Is there a committee member who would like to make the following motion? I move to approve KSA 65-4202 as written.
This
There's
is
second.
Lori, board member. I'll make that motion.
Is there any more comments or concerns? Okay, Victoria, would you please read a motion to approve?
Do we need a second for that?
Oh, I thought she did. I thought it was seconded. Did we have a motion and a second? Victoria?
I heard
I
Owen.
have-
I heard Owen. Motion. Yeah.
Yeah, I have Lori Owen as making the motion, so I just need a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was a second. And I hear two voices. I'm getting confused.
Right.
This is Sharon Morris. I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Okay, now is there any more comments or concerns? Okay. Then all those approved say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion's carried. KSA 654203, which is more licensed mental health technicians, qualifications, examinations. I mean, all their statutes related to licensure. And again, I read through those, and it looks like they're good. Did anybody have any questions about that one? Okay, Victoria, we're ready for a vote for approval.
Is there a committee member who would like to make the following motion? I move to approve KSA 65-4203 as written.
This is Lori Owen, board member. I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Melissa Orpeza, I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried. And the last one is KAR 60-7-105, the licensed mental health tech standards of practice. And I did have something I just wanted to throw out there. It is calling the facility, the setting, a psychiatric mental retardation setting. And that is such a very, very old term. And it is being replaced today with different varieties of verbiage instead of mental retardation. But if it's going to take a lengthy process and procedure to change 2 words, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this one. Carol, will it take quite a lot of steps to get this one through to change the word mental retardation to something that's replaced with kinder verbiage?
Well, it's a regulation, so it does not go over to the legislature. You all can approve your own change, and then it starts through a process with Division of Budget, Department of Administration, the Attorney General's Office, Joint Committee on Administrative Rules and Regs, public hearing. So, I mean, there is a process, but if that's what you want,
Which is why it's still there.
I know, probably so.
I'm just telling you the way it is.
It's just so unfair. And, I just want to respect those that have, a disability, and that's such a cruel word to call them. We don't call them that anymore, but after hearing that, I understand. And I agree with Sharon. I guess it'll just be okay. Is there any more comments? I guess we'll leave it as is.
This is Linda Davies, practice specialist. I read a lot about the equity of in the news for making sure that we're all inclusive and things. And so, being politically correct and making a change, is that more in line with where we're at going in healthcare is what I read.
I would like to make the push to be more inclusive and to let's just clean up the language and bite the bullet and jump through the hoops. I think we just need to, it's 2022, we should just do it.
I agree. Just acknowledging that that's why it still says that is not and it's not an endorsement of going forward with it. I agree that.
It won't get lost in the mess, will it? It's a little one, and it's a single one all by itself, and it's going to have to creep around and get approved by all those big agencies. I just hope it doesn't get lost. But I would love to change. Mental retardation is kind of a cruel word to use in today's 2022, like Melissa was saying.
Okay, this is Carol. So would you please decide how you want it changed and what you want it to say, and direct and make a motion coming out of committee?
Okay.
And then it goes to the board tomorrow.
Okay. And Melissa, do you have some thoughts? I researched and Googled, but I'm not in the current practice world at the moment. I just do PRN part-time. So, or Sharon, you work with probably mentally disabled in schools. What is the new politically correct term for that today?
I'm not sure I'm the authority on that. I think mentally disabled would be better than mental retardation.
Yeah.
But,
that's what I had a mental disability, or I guess that's the only one that kind of fit mental health. I don't know if mental health should be slashed with psychiatric / mental health. Is that what facilities are calling themselves now? Units in the hospitals, psychiatric / mental health, or psychiatric, hyphen mental disabilities? I wasn't really sure exactly what to put in there. Mental
This
health.
is Linda, practice specialist, and we could always table it and research it and bring it back in June.
Maybe we
that
should,
works.
just to kind of see what is the best terminology to put in that.
This is Melissa Warpesa, and I would be in favor of that because I don't know. Yeah, I can even ask people around him. I put it upon myself.
You ladies are probably closer to the work world, than I am sitting here today in this chair. because I haven't had time to ask around either. I like that idea.
Okay, then I'll take it upon myself since it's 2022. I'll do the work.
Just to see what's appropriate.
Yes.
Well, and wondering what type of facilities they are aiming this towards, because
Right.
in referencing mental retardation,
Almost sounds pediatric.
Yes, and just wondering whether they're these plus 21, that some of our mentally disabled are developmentally delayed is another term that we often use in education. Developmentally delayed students go to. I mean, I'm not sure what facilities they're really referencing there, so I hesitate to.
Well, it's the ones that the mental health technician, the licensed mental health technician works in. And right now in my, the only one in Kansas is Larned State Hospital, and there is no mental retardation, institution like there used to be. So it's whatever facilities that licensed mental health technicians work in Kansas. So we would want to research that to see what those facilities are called, besides Larned State Hospital and Osawatomie State Hospital. There's got to be other.
They do have
any of our
patient
treatment
units at
centers.
KU and various places around Kansas. So I'll ask.
Oh, good.
This is Carol, and just FYI, Osawatomie and Larned, their programs, they only accept their own staff. So they don't train anybody to work in any other facilities. And I do not believe they use them at Parsons, or I'm not sure about KNI, but Osawatomie and Larned only put people in their program that will work for them. Just FYI.
Okay. Well, maybe it should just be psychiatric settings. I mean, is that what they're trained for? I'd have to look at their curriculum. It's been a while since I've looked at their curriculum anyway, but that's interesting. I mean, you just leave it at psychiatric. Okay, let's think about that one, because we're going to make a change. It'll last a while. It'll be more permanent, so we want to make sure it's the right change. So we'll table that one. Okay, so we'll move on to the KSBN website updates. School nurse tab.
Madam Chair, this is Linda Davies again. We added, we had just put the delegation of duties for the school nurse up there, but we also now have a link to, I think it's the KSNO website. So we created a tab under the resource section for just school nurses to go to. So anything that comes in relevant for school nursing, school nurses can go there, and KSNO then will maintain their website so that we don't have to. We can just provide the link to that. I just want to make us aware as a practice committee. That's a new change.
That sounds great. Thank you. Okay, now moving on to the agenda for June 2022. And we just added KAR 60-7-105 to talk about in June. Are there any other agenda items? Do you have any on your list, Linda? That
I put down just to continue to update the comparison chart, maybe work with you and Sharon in the process. So
okay.
If I can get a list of frequently asked questions that have relevance back to the Nurse Practice Act for a general, maybe we may have a list for that. I'm not sure. But.
Okay, sounds good. That sounds good. Okay, hearing none else, I guess we're ready for adjournment. Thank you, everybody, for your time and attendance today.
Thank you.
Thank you.